Welcome to part 2 of Operation Aberdeen. We've managed to neutralize the Germans' last remaining flag other than their main base, and now we've captured it. So the Germans potentially could be pinned in to their main base, which is a terrible position to be in on this map. The main bases for each side are in a little enclave of the map, so it's very easy to shut that off. If all of the Allies bring all their tanks down in there, they can very easily camp them in. And the ticket bleed will just be absolutely devastating. Someone just asked me for a pickup, but obviously I couldn't give it to him because the heavy versions of the tanks do not have a machine gun at the top for another person to ride along with. I believe the heavy tanks also have a slightly more powerful cannon, and there you can see it can be a little bit difficult to lead your target enough. You may think you don't have to lead it that much because it's not going very quickly, but if you miss by a little bit, the attack won't register. I'm just going to go after the infantry first of all, because if you try to focus on an enemy tank and you don't manage to kill him, then it was a big waste of time. You didn't get a kill. And if you kill the infantry, then, well, at least it knocks him down by another ticket before you get blown up. And even though the Germans are down to their main base in the far corner of the map, I spawned all the way back up here. Now that probably wasn't necessary, but it's very frustrating to spawn at one of those flags and find that there are no tanks there. Sometimes you'll see an empty tank icon, but that doesn't necessarily mean that there's actually an empty tank there. It could mean that there's an empty artillery vehicle there, and the artillery aren't nearly as good. And another frustrating thing is that when you spawn at one of these flags, you spawn in waves along with other members of your team. So if you spawn there thinking you can grab a tank, someone else may spawn at the same flag and grab the tank before you can get it. And then you'll be stuck walking all the way through the desert. And it really doesn't take all that long to drive to the other side of the map since you got a tank. I don't know what's with all these map votes. On this server, for some reason, people like to do that a lot. I don't believe I've ever seen a map vote actually succeed. They always go, close to the amount of votes that are needed to succeed, but they never quite make it. The requirements are really high. One strategy you can take on this map is to spawn as an anti-tank soldier. That way when you jump out of your tank at the last second, you can potentially deliver the final blow of an enemy tank with your bazooka. Most people like to spawn in as an engineer when they're driving a tank. That's because the engineer can repair the tank whenever you get some peace or you retreat. You can fully heal all of the armor on your tank. And also, if you get up close to an enemy tank, you can drop a landmine on it for an instant kill. But there's always been kind of this debate around whether or not you should be a bazooka troop or an engineer when you're driving a tank, which one's better. And generally the people who drive a tank more often would say an engineer is better because you can last in your tank longer. But if you're not quite as good, you're not quite as patient, you don't retreat enough to repair your tank, it's probably better just to take a bazooka and finish off the enemy. I of course spawned once again as a medic on this map. Partly that's just because I like the medic class the best. The other reason is that because I know that everyone else is going to be spawning as an anti-tank or an engineer, no one's going to be spawning in as a medic or an assault guy. That means if I get into an infantry confrontation for whatever reason, I'm going to have a huge advantage over them. Whereas if I spawn in as an anti-tank guy or an engineer, maybe I'll get to use the repair kit or the bazooka, but maybe not. So if you're looking for something that will give you a big advantage if you're able to make use of it. You can spawn as a medic on this map. Alright, finally I've just decided to spawn here at the closest flag. I figured there was probably an empty tank and I lucked out here. The Axis only have 32 tickets. That just shows you how brutal the ticket bleed is on this map. When they've only got one flag left, it's just incredibly punishing. Alright, that's not a very good omen there. I'm down to half energy already in my tank. But as long as you keep moving, you know, there's a reasonable chance that they'll just barely miss you and chew up some infantry or whatever, get some last-minute kills here. The Germans don't have that much of a defense, even though everyone's spawning at that flag. And this guy should have easily been able to kill me, but I just kept on moving. And I've managed to infiltrate their main base here. Oh, they're all going to be coming after me. That guy jumped out of his tank for whatever reason, giving me a little bit of an opening there. And if this map didn't end, I could probably go on and on getting more kills here. But that'll do it for Operation Aberdeen. See you in the next episode.